The Cardinals, from what I've seen, have an interesting pay scale because they got Kyler Murray. He's not that expensive, and they really have done their best to go all in. Let me bring up what they've done. They are 10th, I believe, in active cap spending. They're at 173. They're spending a little bit more. I don't know if they rolled cap over. They only have $6 million in dead cap, and here are their highest paid players. They got $20 million going to Chandler Jones. That's expensive, but they can afford it because of Kyler. They got $19 million on their left tackle, DJ Humphries, $12 million at DeAndre Hopkins, $12 million on Jordan Phillips, who you may not know, but he was a big-time signing for them last year. Murray at 9, Devin Kennard at 7.8, Budda Baker at 7.7. Devon Kennard is an edge rusher. Justin Pugh at 6'8, Jordan Hicks at 5'9, JJ Watt at 4'9. JJ Watt only at 4'9, and then AJ Green at 3.5. So maybe not the highest expectations for those two guys. They signed for kind of cheap. They have some other guys who are very expensive. What do you think of?
So, yeah, you know what the funny thing is? I think that kind of the consensus thought process, if you ask most people with the NFC West, is that Arizona has the worst team and the worst roster. But when we're looking at from the lens of this exercise, when we're looking at just payrolls, I think they have a better constructed payroll than both Seattle and the Rams. When you look at their highest paid player, Chandler Jones, he's a player who plays a premium position, and he's one of the best in the NFL at that position. DJ Humphries, yeah, I think that a lot of people aren't aware of him, but he's been a good left tackle for Arizona. He's actually played quite well for them. I think that, you know, him being a highly paid player on their team, it's not a bad thing at all. It's a good thing. Then you go down like Budda Baker. He's high up there. He's one of the best players at his position in the NFL. You know, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is, to me, a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. So
is Budda Baker almost underpaid? I mean, this year he's a bargain at whatever he is.
I think so. I personally think he's the best safety in the NFL. So that's my personal take. I know a lot of people disagree, but I'm a big Budda Baker fan. So that's just how I feel about it.
One problem I have with Arizona is they have $40 million tied up in two players. They need Humphries and Chandler Jones to be elite. Now Jones usually is. Is Humphries elite?
I don't know if I would say elite, but he's a really good starting left tackle.
Okay. So
I think so.
This is a team that's pretty much pushed all their chips into the table. They've done the best they can. I don't know if you like their roster or not, but it's expensive.
See that, right? That's the thing, right? You go top to bottom. I don't know if I like their entire roster especially from like 15 to 50, but I can't say that they haven't constructed it in terms of allocating resources to both their lines and building them up, putting resources into their front seven, having a couple of good players in their secondary, like a Budda Baker, you know, having a receiver, having a couple players who are best in the NFL at their position. Like DeAndre Hopkins is a top 2 or 3 receiver in the NFL, you know? So like, you can't say if you look at it from just a financial exercise and you take like the football out of it, because I feel like that's a little bit what we're doing. We're just judging these teams financially. From a financial spot, they've actually done a pretty solid job at filling all positions and allocating resources in a prudent way.
And again, I feel like when you have a quarterback who's on a rookie deal, it's almost easy. Like, you can't miss. You have too much funds. You have too many resources, and you can make some irresponsible signings.
Right. Especially when you do hit on the quarterback, right?
Right.
Their quarterback wins them games for them. So
if you have Tua, it doesn't work. This whole thing doesn't work. No offense if you're a Tua fan.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. If they had Justin Herbert right now, they'd be the team to beat, but they don't. They messed up.
Right, because whatever you want to say about Kyler Murray, right, and there's questions about, you know, his overall functioning in the pocket and just his ability sometimes to make the correct decisions on where to go the football within the structure of their offense. He wins games for them by himself. They won 8 games last year, and most of that was because they had Kyler Murray at quarterback. Like, the wins that they had were either Kyler Murray had 150 yards rushing or Kyler Murray made a few freaky throws late in the game to win you the game.
Now, real quick, Korean 49er pointed out that more breaking news: Zaven Collins
was
arrested.
For reckless driving.
If he was going 76 in 35, that is double the speed limit. That is reckless driving. I think that's a felony. And what I know about Arizona is is a police state. They do not mess around with breaking the law in Arizona.
Oh,
You get in
really?
trouble. If you get a DUI in Arizona, you have to spend a week in something they call tent city. It's supposed to
What?
be a deterrent. Oh yeah, look that up. You have to go to tent city for a week and like, oh yeah. And I think Coco Crisp had ball players have had to do it because there is spring training in Arizona, and sometimes I think Coco Crisp had to do tent city. Anyway, look up tent city. Arizona's
You know what I
wild.
think? You know
Not
what
where
I
you want
think
to
it
get
is,
caught.
Grant? I think my
What?
man has a Kia Stinger, and he wanted people to know about the horsepower on that baby.
No, the key to having a nice car is to drive very slowly. You want to go 15 miles an hour in a 50 zone just so they can see you roll. That's the thing to do. You drive slow. You drive like you're 75. That's the cool thing to do. That's how I do. By the way, the Kia Stinger's back in the shop.
It's back in the shop.
I've never done anything wrong to it. It's a tree branch fell on it. $1,300. So I pay the deductible. Tree branch fell on it. Tell me that's God being like, hey, you like your Stinger? You like that car? Boom. How about now?
Yeah, great. You've had a little bit of unluckiness with the Kia Stinger. You know,
The
a hit
first
and
one they got
run, a
hit in a
branch
park,
falling on it.
a hit and run that went to $2,000, and now this a branch for $1,300. So the first one I didn't have to pay any. This one I got to pay the deductible. Oh well.
You have a lot of birds around you.
I park it inside. So, but whenever I do park it
So bird
outside,
food season
it just
isn't
gets
next.
destroyed by birds because it's blue. I think they look at that like, I like that car. I want that car, and they all go.
Nah, it's not because it's blue. They know it's a Kia Stinger. They know it's Grant Cohn's Kia Stinger.
They know it's mine.
Watching.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Dean says Jalen Ramsey is recruiting Stephon Gilmore to the Rams. What do you guys think of the Rams get him? Hey, you better hope the Rams don't get to Stephon Gilmore. That's all I'm saying.
If the Rams, if they get him, is that the best cornerback duo in NFL history?
It's got to be in the running. You better hope that doesn't happen, Niner fans. And I think that brings us to our next topic, the Rams. Let's do it. So do we finish on the Cardinals? They're very well put together. They're kind of like where the Niners will be next year when they move on from Jimmy Garoppolo because they've filled out their roster and they're not spending $33 million in the quarterback position.
So, I still think the Niners, I was going to say, the conclusion is I still think the Niners have a better structure because I just like who they're paying more, if that makes sense. Like, I like the roster just better. But I don't if we're talking from a strictly payroll perspective, right? We're not comparing the football ability of these teams. We're not comparing the coaching. We're just going down the roster and seeing how they allocated their finances. They both allocated them pretty darn well, both of these teams. I just would say I like the Niners. I like the Niners roster more because I like the players on the Niners more, not because I like the payroll better, if that makes sense. I think the payroll
other than Jimmy, there's no one making more than 12-4 on the Niners this year. I like that. That's great in a pandemic year. That's very well done. And theoretically, if they get rid of Jimmy, they could have no one above 12-4 this year in their cap. That's great.
And
that's great.
You just the thing you just keep going back to is that D Ford is the only player, and that's because of injury, in the Niners' top 20 highest paid players that you don't expect to be a key contributor next year when they're healthy. You go down the list like Ward, right? Ward, Ebukam, Nick Bosa, George Kittle, Eric Armstead. All these guys are expected to start all 17 games when they're healthy and be not just good like starters. They are expected to be amongst the better players in the league at what they do. So.
My only issue with the Niners is the dead cap. Richburg, Quan, I consider D Ford straight up dead cap. I hope he proves me wrong. And then when Jimmy gets hurt, then that's $26 million of dead cap. So it's like they're flirting with it, but it doesn't have to be a problem. It doesn't have to be a problem. And they actually have a very good roster, payroll. Very good. So let's go to the Rams.
Parag Marathe.
He's good at it. And I'm not surprised that he put his foot down on Trent Williams and that Kyle had to make the call and be like, I don't care, Parag. I don't care. Fine. But that's when he's making $27 million a year, you're gonna be like, Parag should have put his foot down. Or maybe not.